Welcome back to Weekly Polls Pick of the Week. This is episode 76. We're a podcast that talks about mainly new single issue comics. My name is Mike, and I'm here with Steve and Jarrod. And usually we talk about some kind of a topic, and I didn't have one prepared today, so I'm open for anything you may want to discuss, anything you're looking forward to, or we can just get right into it.
I had heard rumors that there's going to be a Marvel and DC crossover, but I'm not sure that I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the last time they did that was, I don't know, a long time ago. And it was all right. But they had George Perez doing the artwork back then. And so it was a spectacle, to say the least.
Yeah, it's tough.
How long of a run was that, or was it like a big kind of...
It was a limited series, like a 4-issue thing.
Oh, really? That's it?
Yeah, and it was JLA versus the Avengers or something like that.
Okay.
And they had the Hulk fighting Superman, and and stuff like that. So it was a toy box fest. Toy box fest, yeah.
Next thing we need is a JLA Avengers movie. That'll be awesome.
That'd be tough. That'd be tough to do. Oh, so much money involved, so many people involved.
Only $2 billion.
Speaking of films and movies and TV, the Daredevil Born Again trailers have been dropping, and I wasn't really a huge fan of the Netflix show. It was okay. It was all right. It wasn't bad. I just kind of forgettable. And I'm surprised that Disney is going as violent as they are with Born Again, because it does seem more violent than the Netflix series. Are either of you interested in that?
I am. I actually really like the Daredevil, the Netflix one from back then, and so I am interested in it. Especially if they're adapting that storyline, the Born Again storyline. I don't know if they are or not, or if they're just using the name. I have no idea, but that was a pretty good storyline back in the day in the comics, and so if they are doing that, then it actually makes sense that it's going to be more violent, because that storyline was pretty violent, and so I'm interested to check it out.
I have to say I'm ambivalent. I think I only watched maybe 2 episodes, and I couldn't really get into it, but maybe it gets better. I don't know. Should I have kept going? Jarrod, sounds like you liked it.
Yeah, I thought the second season really had a big impact. It was pretty special. I thought that second season.
Might give it.
That's the Punisher season, right? Too.
Yeah, I think he gets introduced in that one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think with the box office and scores for the new Captain America movie, I think we're getting closer and closer to just people being done with the superheroes. I mean, it still made a ton of money. Don't get me wrong. It just didn't make the money that Marvel was used to in its heyday. I still think there's an audience for it. I just don't think there'll be $1 billion movies as much anymore, or even 500, 600, 700 million box office movies anymore, which I think is a good thing. It gives room for other movies to be made. And I think it reached a point of oversaturation.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is a lot out there. Separating the wheat from the chaff, as they say, is gonna be you gotta be picky.
Yeah, I think times are the economy isn't in the best shape, and I think people are getting choosier what they're spending their money on. So I think that's another thing is, to go see a movie, it's a small family, you're going to drop $100 after drinks and snacks and things. So I think people are being a little pickier. There's a lot of options for streaming and things to do at home and other entertainment. So it's tough to to get people out into the theater. And that's all. I'm sure we can talk for like an hour about all of that, but I think that's part of it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go ahead and kick us off this week with the first one. We have quite the list. And the first one is Behemoth. It's by Dark Horse, number 2. This is the Kaiju Godzilla Attacks New York story. It's about a group of survivors in a bus, and they survive in a, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it, they survive in a different way than I think you would anticipate. They're trying to survive in this really strange environment. I think it's creative, that kind of what they're the environment they're pitted in and the challenges that they face. Overall, I think it's okay. I do appreciate that they're taking a different angle on the story. And it's always interesting in these kind of worst case scenario, end of the world, a group of survivors trying to make heads and tails of what's going on and survive and protect themselves from each other. The way that people react. And some people react, people are in shock and they react a certain way. There's a few characters in this book that just react certain ways that I just want them to die. I'm actively rooting against them just because they're so obnoxious. I'm not sure if people really react this way, but it's one of my pet peeves in these kind of stories. But I'll probably continue this one. I appreciate that they're taking a different approach and they're doing something a little different. I'm not ultra attached to any of the characters. I don't find them all, they're fine. But so yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's different. So I appreciate that.
Nice. Cool. I first I have Life number 4 from Distillery Comics, and this was provided to Steve through a review copy from Distillery, and it was online reading, so that is interesting to me because I haven't done that before, and I've always been a physical copy kind of guy when it comes to that kind of thing, and so I had some trepidation going into it, reading it in that type of a format, and I gotta say I wasn't. It wasn't bad. It was. It was actually. It wasn't a bad experience. It was just a nice experience. I kind of missed having the flip book that the Life book does with the. You had the pro side and the con side, and so I kind of missed, flipping it over and stuff like that. But it wasn't too much an adjustment to read it in that manner. So I don't know how you guys feel about reading comics on a screen as opposed to a floppy, but in this case it was pretty cool. Gotta say. As far as the issue goes, I know you talked about it a little bit last week, Steve, but I enjoyed the ongoing story. This one seemed to have a bit of action in it, and there was a lot of, I think there's a little backstabbing going on from what I remember, and so it was. It kept the story moving. The artwork's very kinetic. It's very dark, thick-lined, but moving all the time, and I appreciate that, and I'm really curious to see where it's gonna go and where it's gonna end up. So it's definitely a good time. It's a good read.
Yeah, I don't hear too many people talking about that book, and I think I love the kind of the setup for it. It's really neat.
The premise is cool as hell.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, just want to say thanks to Distillery for providing some review copies. We really do appreciate it. I think we'll be doing more Distillery reviews here in the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
More dedicated reviews. So the next one for me is In Bloom. It is by Boom Studios. I've enjoyed the first 2 issues. I think this one's my favorite one. This one picks up right where issue 2 left off, and there's a pretty big event at the end of issue 2 that we pick up, and it really it's funny because we talk a lot about books or like a series that starts and it has a really great premise, like Standstill, and the premise is great, but then the execution and developing characters around that is tough because you have this really neat idea, but then you actually have to develop all the other things and move the story along. And I was a little bit concerned with this one because this has a really great setup for it, but it's doing a really great job with developing characters and moving the story along, in addition to building on the world that it kind of brought into us and introduced us to. So it's all moving at a really good pace, and I really am impressed with how well that they're doing that. They are focusing more on the personal aspects of what our main character is going through and the changes that he's experiencing. And there's lots of social commentary mixed in, but it's not forward. It's just there. If you want to read it, you can just enjoy the story. It's another thing I really appreciate. And they're leading, like I said, not so much into the world setup. There's a lot of books that just don't deliver on the initial setup. But I also love the artwork. The artwork is really nice. Sometimes it's beautiful and it's disgusting. There's some really disturbing images, but it's done so well that it's, oh, this is really cool. So yeah, all of it it's very kind of disturbing, but it all works. It's really great. So I'm really enjoying the series. I think this is the best issue of the series so far.
Nice. It's good when a series improves like that.
Yeah.
Who's the publisher again, Steve?
This is Boom.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel like they've been doing a good job with like kind of more horror, grotesque type of titles. I don't know. For whatever reason, I've just been doing something right there, I think.
Yeah, I think they do Hello Darkness too, right? So that's another kind of horror.
Yeah.
Horror adjacent. Yeah.
And they did
I didn't think of it that way.
Which we liked
Underheist
last year. And a few others I can't think of right now.
It's true.
Cool. All right. Up next, I have Assassin's Apprentice 3, number 3. This is the third volume in the adaptation of Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice fantasy novel, which is the first book in the Farseer trilogy. And this issue continues this great adaptation of the book. There is in this particular issue, there's quite a few revelations in here that come forward that I was quite pleased to find out about, and just I love the way they adapt this book, because they really are taking it straight from the novel, and it's a very, very close adaptation. So there's a lot of words in the book, but it's not so much that it detracts from the artwork, because the artwork is actually fantastic by Ryan Kelly. So if you are a fan of Robin Hobb and are hesitant about picking up an adaptation of her work, do yourself a favor and go start with this one, because it's one of the better adaptations I've read.
So we can save ourselves a few thousand pages and read the comic instead.
Yeah, I mean, the comic, like I said, it follows it pretty close, and this is it took 3 trade paperback volumes to cover one novel, so it's quite a bit.
One of the shorter ones, isn't it?
Yeah, Assassin's Apprentice is one of the shorter novels.
I only read the first 2, so I'm taking my time. I don't like to read stuff like back to back. I don't know why. I just like to take a break.
The doorstops for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool, Jarrod. I might check that one out. So the first one I have, and I actually only have 2 today, but I had 2 decent reads I'm relatively pleased with. The first one is Huge Detective from Titan Comics, number 4. I will start off to say I do appreciate, even though it's very brief, a short synopsis. Because it's been a while, I think, since number 3, maybe 2 months, maybe 3. And I just learned at the end of reading this one that they're going to take a hiatus, and then number 5 will come out in June. So that's why it's nice to have a synopsis, at least for me. So for those of you that aren't aware, there are these giant humanoid creatures they're more than giants. They're called a huge. They're like the size of skyscrapers that emerged out of the earth. So it's really I've said this before, the world building is really something. I really appreciate it. But the one of the characters is he's basically doing an investigation with a human, a normal human, and that's just kind of the ongoing. This has like kind of a very, it's a fantasy slash noir, genre crossover, and so that there's even some kind of noir tropes in here, which I think people would easily recognize. There, one thing I will say, I don't think it's giving much away because it's just been happening in the last few issues. Is there is a giant, huge being that's like a fossil that's in space that's coming towards Earth. So there's like some tension building here. There's just some wild stuff going on here. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it's kind of plotting through this kind of detective story. So I had a few quibbles, and one would be there is a villain in here that I think was introduced in the last issue that is a little bit, I don't know, the villain has too many quips that aren't really, doesn't always work for me, little too kind of mustache twirly. And I really do love the artwork, and then there's quite a few panels in here that are just like monochromatic, just basically like all red color palette. And that they overdid that, I think, in this one. But I do like the artwork. I just really love. I do have to kind of call out the artist, which is Magenta King, and I would like to check out more of their work at some point. Yeah, so this might have been my least favorite entry so far, but that doesn't mean it was bad. It's just overall, I'm still very pleased with the series. I think there's just moments there where I'm like, yeah, I think we'll see where it goes. I have to wait a couple months, but definitely still, liking the series.
Nice.
Cool. Who was a publisher? I missed.
This is from Titan Comics, and the writer is Adam Rose.
All right, so next one up for me was nearly my pick of the week, which is The Hive #1. This is by Image Comics. It has a really striking cover. On the cover, for those who haven't seen it, it looks like the top of a gun, but instead of shells being shooting out of the top, it's bees. It just looks really cool. It looks like such a cool cover.
Okay. Hive.
Now, what is this book about? I don't know that I can really tell you. It's about bees and vibrations. And I really don't know what this book is about. It's about a group of people that work together somehow, and with bees and a hive. There's some corporate shenanigans going on. I'm not even sure what's going on. And in some ways, I don't mind this kind of thing where they're not holding your hand and everything's very confusing, but it can go on for too long. So I hope that they don't drag this on to where it's trying to be clever and what is this about? We don't know. I hope that doesn't go on too long because eventually we need some kind of answers. But yeah, the art didn't blow me away, but it's definitely telling a lot of the story. So it's doing a good job in that regard. So I am all on board with this one. This is either going to be really, really great or a disappointment. There's no middle ground. Once you kind of start off like that, it's either going to be really, really cool or it's going to just crash and burn. So I'm hoping that it does really well. And I'm excited to see what.
Yeah, I was almost considering picking that up, but I was like, bugs.
Yeah, it's different.
I like insects, so I definitely I missed that one, so I want to check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Pretty really good start. Hopefully it continues.
Cool. Next up, I have One World Under Doom from Marvel Comics, and I just kind of picked this up on a lark. Written by Ryan North, artist is Barbie Silva, and I always kind of liked Doom as a main character. I never liked it when he was the mustache twirling villain that Mike said earlier, but because he always as a villain, he always had a purpose of some sort other than just the usual thwart the heroes. You know, he had his own thing going on, and I guess, and I haven't read a Marvel comic in ages, so I just picked it up under a lark because a long time ago there was a book called Doom 2099, and in the year 2099 he basically took over the world, and he did a pretty good job of it, and so now they came out with this, which is supposed to be now today, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna check this out, and apparently he's become the Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange no longer holds this title anymore. Now it's Victor Von Doom that holds this title. And so with this power, he decides, I'm just going to go talk to all the world's leaders and tell them I'm in charge now. And amazingly, they all said okay. I don't know why yet. Of course, you know, all the superheroes, that, you know, he casts some sort of spell on them or what have you, but we don't know. That's the big mystery, is how he got everybody to go along with this. And various shenanigans go on, and this is, you know, and Doom thwarts them all. He's putting everybody in their place, and it's pretty cool. I like how it starts. I'm real worried that's going to end, you know, in some stupid manner, and you know that all my effort at reading this is going to go for naught, because like you said, it usually does. But it's a cool start though, and the artwork's really great. And the problem I had with it, Steve, you've mentioned this before, the cover price is $6, and I'm just like, why? Yeah. Everything else I have here is $4, so why is this $6? Is it maybe there's an extra page or two, but there's also plenty of ads? I'm just like, wow, okay. You'd be better off buying a Distillery comic, which is $9 and has a lot more to it. But so far, cool story, but the superhero fun, I guess, or villainous fun.
Yeah. I like villain stories.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go, Mike.
No, it sounds intriguing, though. The premise, interesting setup.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm very wary of the ending, but we'll see how it goes.
I've come to accept that with a lot of superhero stories, that you just enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Because you know the end's going to be kind of a want, because everyone's going to live, nothing's really going to change. So you just enjoy the journey. Right. And just have fun.
Wouldn't it be great, though, if Doom was just in charge for the rest of...
That would be cool. Yeah. I like Doom.
The next 20 years.
That would be really cool. That cover price, though. Jeez.
Oh, I know.
All right. So the next one for me is one that we've talked about, I think, since its first issue, which is The Sacrificers by Image. This is issue 14. And we are seeing the Sacrificers from a different angle this time. Some of the children that get taken in. And it's funny seeing how it's changed because of the events of the book. So it's pretty neat to see that they're not doing the same thing. Things have changed because of the characters we've grown to know and love. And we also get some more information about the black goo, I guess you can say, that has been introduced over the last few issues. And it just adds more layers to the story. It adds a lot more things to worry about, and I'm not sure where it's going to go, but it's really neat that we're still adding layers on top of the original story, even 13 issues in. So as artwork, storytelling, everything is top notch as usual, as you would expect from this book. And yeah, another really great issue. It just didn't have that. Didn't have the thing that like set it over the top that wouldn't be making my pick. But yeah, overall, I mean, still a fantastic issue.
Yeah, solid stuff.
All right, and I guess I'm one more to go. So the next one, really quickly, is Ultimate Wolverine 2. This is by Marvel. And surprisingly, another good issue for me. If I were familiar with the rest of the Absolute Universe, I may feel differently about this book. I don't know really anything about it, of the rest of the universe, and I'm still enjoying it. So I'm not sure that you need to read all the other titles. You may get more out of it if you do, but I'm not going to. So I'm just hoping it works out, especially given the cover prices. So far, it's been fun. They're still developing Wolverine. He is really the ultimate weapon, and again, I think they're kind of using, maybe it's nostalgia from the old Weapon X and back in the 90s that I used to love. But he is just a killing machine, and the way that they use him and the way that they use other people to train him and to hone his skills is pretty brutal. And they are not backing off the violence and gore, which I was a little bit surprised with. And they've kind of stripped Wolverine of his identity and of any kind of agency, and I think it's all really, really neat. And eventually, I know he's not gonna be contained forever, so it's gonna be fun to see what he does to the people who are using him right now. But yeah, the artwork I think is really neat. It's not the typical Marvel house style that they've kind of come to. There are books that deviate from that, but a lot of the Marvel books that I've read lately or the last year or so have kind of the same style to it, and it's not that style. So I appreciate that too. Yeah, overall, another good issue.
I remember those original Weapon X stories drawn by Barry Windsor Smith back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Man, those were so good. And oddly enough, they were the original stories were in an anthology called Marvel Comics Presents, and I don't know, I just I totally forgot about that whole era of the that Marvel used to do anthologies that were pretty cool actually back then.
They should get back to doing that.
Yeah. All right. Next, I have Conan the Barbarian, number 18. This was the second part of a two-part story. I don't want to call it a fill-in couple issues, but it did have that feel of this last one, issue 17, and this one, issue 18. Had the feel of a two-issue fill-in until they get back to their normal creative team, or maybe a new artist, because sometimes they have artists come in and do big runs or what have you. It was still the same writers, but it was the artwork in here was well done, don't get me wrong, but it didn't seem to suit Conan the way that I've seen so many great artists draw Conan, and it was a bit more cartoony, and it didn't give Conan that grit that you come to expect from a Conan comic. But the story was actually pretty decent. It actually resolved very well. It was just a second issue of a two-issue story, and it resolved very well. It tied up very well. It had enough mystery in it and intrigue and just adventure hijinks that it definitely moved along at a quick pace and kept you interested as far as the story goes. And I think this artist would be perfect on another title, because the artist was really good, just not for this one. That's all. But my Conan journey will ever continue on.
Kind of amazing the character like Conan has been so popular for so long, because there's really not a whole lot to him.
Yeah. It is amazing, actually. I think it's how it's been able to stand the test of time the way it has been quite extraordinary, actually, and it says something to the psyche of fantasy readership or sword and sorcery readership, that they have wanted to stick with this for as long as over generations, really, at this point.
Yeah, I think there's so much in fantasy literature that owe a debt of gratitude to Howard, and he didn't live long, but he was like Mozart. He was prolific, was really pumped out a lot of work, as horror as well, and I know that some of this, I actually started reading the stories. I didn't get that far. I haven't read them all, but I do want to read everything. Well, I want to try to read most of the Conan works. There's a few that I heard are not too good, but people say it still holds up in a way. You have to kind of imagine that, it was written in a certain time, but definitely want. That's maybe why I'm hesitant to jump into the comics, because it kind of covers. I feel like I might get spoiled for some of the. I think we talked about this before, Jarrod, and you said it doesn't matter or whatever. But
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Conan is a fluid enough character that you don't have to worry too much about when you read which stories and how, and in which medium and stuff like that. It's all good.
All right. So the last one for me before we get into our picks is one that's, they got me again. It's called Weapon X-Men 1. It's by Marvel. Now, I'd seen reviews on a couple of different YouTube channels, and they just raved about this book, that it was the best thing, and it's the best X title out now. And it's like, okay, Wolverine, Deadpool, and Cable together. What can go wrong? A lot, apparently. So, first of all, the artwork is I talked a little bit earlier about the Marvel house style that they seem to be adapting it. It looks very much like a computer-generated art style. It just looks too perfect. It looks like AI did it. And I'm not saying AI did it, because I'm just saying it doesn't look. It looks like a computer did it. It looks like it's electronically done. Maybe it's not. I mean, no offense to anybody. It just doesn't feel like it has much soul to it. That sounds bad, but it looks like what you see out of a cartoon. It just doesn't. It didn't pull me in. It looks very simple, very vibrant, but it just doesn't have that feel to it. It just doesn't pull me in at all. So yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing is I just don't care about the story. I don't care about Deadpool. I think I've reached my limit of what Deadpool. I think he's reaching the point of oversaturation. I'm okay. I can only hear so many stupid jokes, and I love Cable. I just wish he'd have better titles to explore the character with. Again, it's maybe my 90s nostalgia talking, but yeah, overall, just a huge disappointment. I could not get into this one. All the way around, it was a no-go for me. So it's a bummer.
Yeah.
I won't be continuing, needless to say. But I want to see good. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to get this one out right before we do the picks. That way we can finish on a high note.
I'm looking at the cover, and it says on the top, at least I'm looking at it online, it says One World Under Doom. So does that mean it's crossing over with the one that Jarrod read, which was Under One World Doom?
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of crossover issues and stuff. Yeah,
so it's like some event. People want to get on that. So. It's happening, I guess.
Yeah.
Not sure, but yeah. So I guess we'll start off the picks of the week here. I've got the next one that I read. Can I call it a pick of the week? Yeah, what the hell? I think I can, because I've only read 2, so that's not too. I'm not proud of myself. This is not a great output for me, but I will say I'm pleased.
How dare you?
I know. I am very pleased to share that this is the final issue of Holy Roller. So this is Holy Roller number 9. I'm pretty sure it was like maybe the second time I joined speaking with you, Steve, on this lovely podcast, that the first one came out. So there's been a few months where we didn't have anything, and this one's been quite a while in coming, and so maybe they took their time. They're trying to get it right. And this delivered on what I like the series, the reasons why I like the series. And I think we even kind of summarized in our top 10 comics of the year last year. Number 1 is it makes me laugh. I am laughing out loud, and that is not happening with most like other comics that I'm reading that are supposed to be funny. That is not happening for me. I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of funny in my head or whatever. But this one, they've got a few funny one-liners here. So, and there's social commentary in this one. It's not that subtle, but for me, it feels even more relevant with what maybe is happening these days. So yeah, I love the character. That's the Levi is his name. Who's the he throws bowling balls at people. What more can you ask? I mean, I don't know where he hides them, but there's some absurdist stuff going on, and you just have to go with it. And so one of the funny bits in here, I'll just say, he mentions D's nuts. So I just thought the way it came up was anyway. I won't spoil all of that because I really do think people should check it out. And one thing I will say again, is that it's the final issue, and they had kind of a happy ending. So I kind of needed that, and so I didn't expect it necessarily. It's not totally a happy ending. It's definitely there's a gray area there. So there's you think it's like, oh, this is going to wrap up nicely, and then something bad does happen. But this is ultimately a story about Levi and his father too. That's like a secondary part of the story, and so that does come up here quite a bit. And so I have to say that's an easy pick of the week for me. And yeah, overall, I'd recommend the series. There's only 9 issues. I'm sure there will be some kind of a trade paperback that comes out soon. And I like the artwork. It's definitely, there's nothing very different about it, but I do. They're hitting on the right tone, I think, with the artwork.
It's always good when a series that you enjoy finishes up in a satisfactory way. It seems to be few and far between that you enjoy a reason that it nails a landing. So I'm glad that it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could continue. I don't know. Maybe we hope not, but in some ways, who knows? But yeah, I'm happy with it for now.
Yes.
That's all we can ask for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, my pick of the week was unexpected for me, but it is The New Gods #3 by DC Comics, and this book took a turn I was not expecting at all. It details a whole new mythology that ties into the creation myths of the new gods, and I just really loved it. And I don't know if this artist is the same one that was in the first 2 issues, and I think it is, but man, he's been holding back, because in this issue the artwork is completely stunning. It is outstanding. Like, he went all out and he gave us some really stunning visuals and images in here. And I just love how the story just gave us this ancient mythology that then ties into the current ongoing story of Mr. Miracle and his wife, I think Barter, is her name. And it was really cool because most of the issue was about this ancient mythology and these ancient beings that helped in the formation of so many worlds, and then you had the just a little outline of what's going on in the current world, and I'm sure we're going to get more of that in the next issue, as it all ties together. But I just thought this one was really well done. I was totally not ready for that in this picking this up. I thought it was going to go, based on the first 2 issues, I thought it was going to kind of head into a more superhero-y direction, and then this issue threw me for a total loop and went in another direction, and I really loved it. I thought it was just spectacular.
Huh.
Unexpected from DC.
Wow. I'm impressed. Yeah, and I'm looking for. I do have it in my pile. I just didn't get to it. Yeah, it's a glowing review.
Yeah, wait till you see the artwork. It's fascinating. It really is. I thought it was so well done.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something, Mike. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, but it might put us up on a small tangent or whatever. But Jarrod, you are okay with reading DC, but Marvel generally you're not. You're more of a DC person then. Is that right?
No, not really. I only started reading DC again recently with the Absolute stuff,
Okay.
and I'm kind of falling off that bandwagon too. So
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Superman is actually the one that's kind of still hanging on with me, the Absolute Superman.
Okay.
But I just got into, like, I tried a bunch of stuff for DC with the whole all-in thing, thinking, okay, let's try this out. And most of the ones I tried have been okay to terrible, and the Absolute was okay. The Superman one was pretty good, and then Batman fell off, and Wonder Woman was okay, not impressive enough to keep going, and Superman's pretty good. So I'm gonna check out the next one on that one. This one has surprised me though. This New Gods, because I tried Challenge of the Unknown, dud. I tried some of the all-in tie-ins with, Batman and what have you, and Teen Titans was absolutely horrible. So, I tried. I gave things a shot.
I tried a few as well. I even read a Green Lantern, and I was so lost. I was so completely, utterly lost.
Yeah, there was an advertisement in this issue of New Gods for the Absolute Green Lantern, but I'm not interested.
They might get us.
I just can't do it. I'm not going to do it.
It'll get me. I'm a sucker.
I might check it out.
And Absolute Flash.
Ooh.
So, good luck with those. I'm too scared to go in.
Yeah, I'm a sucker. All right, so my pick this week was a little tough. There was a few that were competing for the top spot. Ultimately, I did go with World Tree 13. It's by Image Comics. And this book is becoming more and more what I hoped it would be at the beginning. It really started off out of the gates really strong, and then in the middle of the story, it got really wrapped up with the characters and interactions and histories, and it got really in the weeds with the way the different characters where they were, where they are now, and it got really confusing, and it got off track. I'm happy to report that the last couple of issues have been back to disturbing and weird and just off the wall crazy, and that's exactly what I'm hoping for. So hopefully we're back to being weird, not so digging in too much with the characters. The visuals in this book were the standout. There's not a whole lot of dialogue, and we do get more history on one of the main characters in the book that we've seen. And yeah, I just think it's really messed up. It is weird shit, and I'm here for it. And from the very beginning in this issue, it does explore what one of the characters sees in the internet, and it does kind of, what is there, and it made me wonder about all the things that all of us, the reader, or whoever, all of us anyway, all the things that we've seen, all the terrible, horrible things that we've seen on the internet, whether it's intentional or not, and how that's affected us, how that's changed our minds, how that's changed our brains to see these things over and over again, and the damage or how it's changed us in some way. And I just think that's really what this book started out with for me, is almost like a commentary on the internet and its effect on us. And it's gone back to that. So it's very thought-provoking and very disturbing and just crazy. It's wild. I love it. So this is my pick this week. Like I said, not a whole lot of dialogue. A lot of it was just art and page setups and layouts. And, it was all done really, really well. So it is my pick of the week.
Damn. Very cool.
Yeah. Back to being weird.
Yeah, that one, I think you might have, there was a moment there maybe where but you weren't going to continue. So stuck with it, man. Good job.
Sometimes being a sucker pays off. I guess I can say. Yeah, there was a while there where I was just really lost. And I found myself kind of scanning the page instead of reading because I was just not interested in it. I thought maybe it's time to give up, but I stuck with it. paid off, thankfully. It really it's taken a turn, a big turn, so in a good way.
Very cool.
So that is issue number 76 for us. Another one in the books. Until next time, Jarrod, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and you can find me on podcasts associated with pagechewing.com, including Specular Speculations and the Oscar Project.
Yeah, and you can find Mike and I over on pagechewing.com. Come and say hello. We are still looking, and I forgot to look too deep into this, but we're still looking for an older run that we can get on a public place like Hoopla or a library app that we can all read together, read an issue a week. So if you do have any suggestions on the classic run or a run that you really enjoy that maybe is underappreciated, let us know that where we can get it, and we'll all read an issue a week. And I think that'd be fun just to do something, kind of chip away at a classic run or one of the runs that changed the course of comics. Or maybe it's just good. That's fine too. It doesn't have to be prolific. It doesn't have to be this world-changing thing. But yeah, let us know if you have any suggestions, or if you just think we're wrong about something, let us know that too. The link below, send us a message, or come by the forums and tell us how wrong we are there. And until next time, hope everyone's doing well. Enjoy whatever you're reading, and we will talk to everyone very soon.
Bye-bye.